อ Because as you said, you've got a caseload of 50 puppies.